Okay, remember they're changing my voice. Before I get into Mark 8, you know, I'd like to discuss, that my ex-fiance was Greek, okay? I'm not racist. I don't care if you're an albino. I don't care if you're blacker than night. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you're born looking like a devil with horns and tail and literally glowing red skin. In popular culture, the image of a devil or something. What I care about is your heart and your generational inheritance and your willingness to obey God. You see what I'm saying? And accept that that's what it is. To accept reality, the way, the truth, and life. What is the truth? Is the truth that it's right to take the oppressed righteous bread and give it to the dogs and give them a higher place than them and ignore the oppressed because they don't have the money to make my life easier, because they don't have the power to send hot chicks my way? No. I'm going to accept all the pain, not just some. Okay, I'm going to say it how it is. And if you feel like you got to keep screening me out, then you do what you got to do, if that's really what you believe is the right thing to do. And I'm going to still do what I have to do, which I know is right, which I know comes from God, which is not a mere belief, but is the truth. The way, the truth, and the life. So Jesus feeds the 4,000, and it is the second time. No sign will be given, he says. Another part of the section, we'll skip over these. The yeast of the Pharisees. Aware of their discussion, Jesus asked them, "Why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not see or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to see, and ears but fail to hear, and don't remember? When I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many basketfuls of pieces did you pick up? 12, they replied. And when I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many basketfuls of pieces did you pick up? They answered, 7. Okay. He said to them, do you still not understand? See, numbers come into play now. I'm just going to briefly go over this a little bit. It's not as important as you might think. Okay, the number 5, like in Matthew 10, stands for family, right? That he came to bring a sword to divide. 5 in one family, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. So we see that number 5. The number 12, right? The 12 disciples. Okay, they're sitting at 12 gates. There's 12 gates to enter the city, and so on and so forth. So there's the number 12. Okay, something to that effect. Okay. And so on and so forth. So what it all will eventually equal to, it's like a puzzle if you care to do it, is going to equal to reinforcing the obvious morals of the story, okay? And pointing to, some kind of spiritual ideas, right? The bread, right? He's breaking bread, right? The body's destroyed, right? He's I'll destroy this temple and rebuild it, okay? And how's he rebuild it, right? So he destroyed his family in his temple, right? His family was split up, right? His mother, his brother was questioning him and giving him a hard time about being a prophet. He was giving his family a hard time when he claimed to be a prophet, claimed to be the son of God, and the town started giving his family a hard time. So he broke the bread, okay? And there's 12 basketfuls, right? Baskets, right? Vessels, right? And the bread is the body for the sacrifice, okay? And of course, it repeats, right? The disciples themselves get martyred, right? It's a spirit of martyrdom, okay? So there's the bread and the fish. He says, I'll make you a fisher of men, and so on and so forth. So there's that, right? All right. So now, let's just go ahead and skip ahead. Jesus heals a blind man at Bethsaida. Skip that. Peter declares that Jesus is the Messiah. That is important, but we'll skip it, because it's not that important. It's pretty much all there is to it, Jesus predicts his death. That brings us down to verse 31. He then began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law. So we reject them, the elders, the chief priests, the teachers of the law. And then he must be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Right? So who's supposed to rebuke you? The person in the wrong is not supposed to rebuke the person in the right. So when Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, what happens? But when Jesus turned around and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter. Get behind me, Satan, right? He's an adversary. Satan means adversary. He said, you do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. So when I say this, a divine order, and whoever doesn't gather with me scatters, those who say by their actions that they're not going to obey, or tell people not to obey, or order people to shun me, order people to gang stalk me instead of obey me, right? They're adversaries of God's Spirit, and I'm the Son, and this flesh is the vessel that I'm in, and this is the last time that I'll be in the flesh among man. After that, they're sealed out of heaven. Okay, like it says in Genesis, right? God says, I won't contend with them forever, right? I won't struggle with them. I won't, try to get them to do the right thing forever, right? I won't try to get them to do the right thing by disciplining them, right? It says don't resent God's rebuke and his discipline, right? And God detests those who reject his discipline and instruction, okay? So he says, get behind me, saying you don't have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. So when someone says, hey, I can't date you because they told me no, right? What's going to happen? The humans are going to punish me. You don't have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. You're of the devil, right? And you're not going to heaven. When somebody says, I'm not going to obey because, it's going to cost me my career, human concerns. My family might be persecuted, human concerns. I have kids, human concerns, right? Your kids, like you, are outside the divine order. So they're in the path of Satan. And this is why it's the narrow way that leads to heaven versus the broad way that leads to hell. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't have their heart with God, and they're not keeping the greatest commandments. The greatest commandment, it's the essence of commandments, right? Love the Lord thy God with all your heart, all your soul, all your being. Okay, love your neighbors yourself. Okay, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Greater love has none than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. So one's orders, you're ordered, is the greatest command, is to come into the divine order, which allows you to remove the log from your eye, to truly love God effectively and in truth, which is true love, the way, the truth, and the life, the way to love God, the way you live your life, so on and so forth, your actions, your deeds, your fruits, okay? So you're not loving God with all your heart. Instead, you're rebelling. You're not doing unto others as the righteous man would have a righteous person do unto him, because that's what they're getting at. So remember, they're changing my voice. So there's a bunch of evil people who are the descendants of the types of people that crucified Jesus. The Greeks, the Greeks that were well assimilated into Rome. The Romans, the Jews, okay, who think that if they sabotage me and change my image, and perfume and poison me, change the way I look, and use technology to even kind of, as hard as it might be for some of you to believe, for those of you who are older, certainly you believe it, they use technology to kind of change, the contour, or whatever the word would be, the kind of shape of my head just ever so slightly, to throw it off, to make it so I seem a whole lot less attractive, okay, than the perfection that God made me. Now, I'm not some kind of fashion model, some kind of sissy in a suit with a crest, some kind of gentleman's club or corporate or politician guy. Look in the mirror all the time. I don't spend a lot of time looking in the mirror. I hardly look at the mirror at all. But when you're the image of God, you have to point this out. And when they think it's smart to interfere with God's projected image, right, what God put through nature to be seen, they fail the test to that extreme, it has to be said. So I think that anytime certain groups, right, and again, I'm not racist, but it has to be said, they did this for whites, Jewish, and LGBT people to seem like they look better, like they have better genes, rich ones especially, okay? And they brought their whole groups with them because it's an insult to God, right? It's in that kind of group spirit. It's that kind of racial spirit that you see in its variations in a race. So I think that we can all agree, everyone with any speck of justice or better, that it is pure evil for whites, Jews, and LGBT people to try to look better than the other groups, and certainly to try to look better than me. Now, if you obey God through me, okay, and say you're my girlfriend, I don't care if you look better than me, okay? But when they're sabotaging me so they can try to use the image game they're playing, right? Image, second word, mage, right? It's in the word game. The word game is mage scrambled. That's part of their game. And in the Bible, it says Satan blinds the minds so they won't see the glorious image of God. It's for the purpose of idolatry, right? They're making images, right? They're using stone and metal and wood. And they're crafting certain images and paintings and sculptures and statues and Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. I'm sure we can all agree it's purely fucking disgraceful on them and their groups and their families, right? The essence of disgrace. And right now that their family members in the afterlife are utterly disgraced, burning that much more when they do this, okay? And I've warned them many, many times. We've gone over this many times. So what they're doing is the way of crossing God instead of the way of the cross. Then he called the crowd to him along with his disciples. And whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life, the Greek word means life or soul. Okay, whoever wants to save their soul will lose their life. Okay, whoever loses their life for me, okay, and the gospel will find their soul. What good is it for someone to gain the world yet forfeit their soul? What good is it for somebody to damn their offspring that much more, and their dead loved ones and their family and so on and so forth? Okay, and gain even for the world, much less the bootlicker pittance, much less to disgrace themselves. People see what they're doing without me saying anything. But it has a certain effect where at moments you might be tricked. You're like, oh, you see someone in the news, you're like, whoa, she looks kind of hot. Wait a second, that's a privileged sex cult corporate, Hollywood kind of quote unquote Illuminati kind of bitch, right? And you don't respect it. You say, what kind of worm ass kind of Caiaphas, Ron Jeremy filth did you suck for that job? You see what I'm saying? We don't respect it. We don't respect the politicians. We don't respect the celebrities. Okay, it's not just me, it's even them. They don't respect themselves. Because they know it's ill-gotten gain filth. You want to know what rape cult, ill-gotten gain filth in its essence looks like? Look who they're trying to make look good. Okay. Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? If anyone's ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his Father's glory with the holy angels. If anyone's more proud of the... So I was cut off, everyone seeks lower. If anyone's more proud of the idea of trying to look good, okay... than proud of the idea, so to speak, of obeying God through me, okay, then they're disgraced, right? They use the word ashamed, right? The Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his Father's glory with the angels. So they're ashamed, right? They made a disgrace of themselves. Why would you think that George Jetson and Urkel and Pee Wee Herman and Harry Potter, okay, and Fred Flintstone and Velma and Harley Quinn, why would you think these, Cardi just went to McDonald's, not too long ago, and I seen Cardi B with some kind of, satanic black guy with, with dreads or whatever, okay, with tattoos on his face and so on and so forth to reflect his kind of despicable worldly lifestyle. They're at McDonald's, okay? If you think their opinions matter more than the top martial arts ever, I promise you that you're a fucking idiot. Okay, I'm the wisest person that ever lived. And I promise you, to try to look better than me is fucking disgraceful. Okay, and how long will it last? Say, I want my son to look better than you. He's about your age. Okay, if he's about my age, he's about 40 or so. Okay, how long before he's 50, 55, 60? You know what you call a motherfucker who looks good at 60? A vampire piece of shit. A total fucking disgrace. Okay? The simple answer. Now, if we're talking about someone like my father whose inner beauty carried him through, that's a different story. But we're not talking about that when we're talking about other people. These worms who are like, oh, technology. Oh, it's fucking pathetic. I tell you the truth, if I had a daughter and she even thought about dating him, she said, hey, Dad, let me run this by you. Okay, I'd flog her to fucking death. Okay? Some image fucking worm that thinks they should look better than fucking Jesus. And if they naturally did, I wouldn't give the first fuck. But they don't. Okay? And they're trying to fucking fume me and poison me to try to make so I look like some crazy gay guy or something, so they can make, oh yes, we are the pinnacle, and they're in the spirit of homosexuality, right? Frats and social clubs, corporate groups, it's all corporate alliance, yoked to sinners, yoked to homosexuality, yoked to pedophilia type of garbage. Okay, oh yes, we have it quite together. Yes, it's fucking Francis Galton clown ass Ronald McDonald bitch shit. Never respected it, never will.